Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for the 3rd of February 2023. I'm Aaron McHale, moderating the meeting. And with us today, we have Ralph Kohler, Simon Helsen, and Istvan. Oh, wow. I'm bad at names. Sabo? Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, I normally I'm terrible at names, so there we go. Yeah, okay. We have a few, quite a number of issues on the sort of carry forward agenda here. I'll just say that I'm going to try and monitor the chat for anyone who wants to type in the chat and do that. And yeah, I guess we'll start. I think we said we were going to look at this issue here about revisit the redirect to add block form in the add block content form. So this is issue number 3325167. And the problem here is, I should say, it's quite relevant to the work we've been doing on the sort of reorganizing the admin UI around blocks and block content. So this is particularly relevant to the issue around the moving the custom block library to content. So when you submit the block content add form, you're redirected to the add block, the place block form from a newly added block content item. This made sense in the context of block content only being used in the global page layout, but when the advent of Layout Builder, it no longer makes sense. And the proposed resolution here is when on the block content form, when the block content item is being created for the first time, add a secondary action save in place, have this button do the redirect, have existing save button redirect back to the block library. Similar pattern with terms where we have two save buttons, one that returns to the list and one that reloads the add form ready for additional terms. And I can, I'll just jump over to the site that I set up and we can demonstrate that. So I guess probably we'll go have a look at taxonomy so we can see what it's referring to here. So obviously this is a umami demo, so we have the recipe category. So I will use that. And if I go to add a term, we have two save buttons. We have the save and then save and go to list. So I'll just create one called test to demonstrate this. So if I hit save, it takes me, okay, so I stay on the add term form. I'll do test 2, and then I go to save and go to list, and it takes me back to the list. So that that is the behavior for terms. And then if we go to structure, block layout, custom block library, and of course we don't have block types here because in 10.1 that is now under its own heading and structure. So, but if I come to add a custom block, let's go with a basic block, I guess. So we have a save button, and I call this one test. I'm very creative today with my names for things. Everything is just a test. And I hit save. And it takes me to, okay, so that takes to the block library. Let me just check. It might be because there's a destination in here. So let me just double check what the issue said again. So go to block add. Oh yeah, so if you go directly to block add, yeah. So if I go to block, just to block add like this, without the redirect, it should. Let's add another test block here. I hit save. Yeah, so this time it takes me to the configure block form. And that is for, I guess this is for adding it to the, yeah, it's for adding it to a region. So like I could add to the content region, for instance. And if I save that, I would now see that block in so many regions. Yeah, here under content. So that's kind of the problem. And that will become, I guess, even more problematic when the custom block library gets moved over to content over here, which is what we're doing in issue 2862564, move custom block library to content. So, as it says, the proposed resolution is to just add an additional button. So, and I guess the thing we could probably do here is make some either agree with this or make some recommendations. So if I come back to the block add form, and let me just open up the taxonomy term one again, so we've got something to compare to. Yeah. So does that make sense to everybody, or is there anything that I should clarify further on that?
I have, it's not really unclear, but how much do we use those destinations? Like,
yeah, that's a good question.
Because if it's something that's normally used, then we could have something that could check and update the kind of the button based on that or something like that. But not sure if it's a good idea. But was wondering, because that's sometimes kind of, it's not always there, but it's sometimes the destination, and sometimes it can be a bit confusing also because of that.
Yeah, so I think the destination is usually added, is quite commonly added throughout core. So like if I click on the add custom block here, it's going to append that destination to the end of the add URL. And I guess that follows me through. Yeah, so that follows me through when I through to this form. So yeah, this save button will take you to that destination, which I'm not sure if it's a good thing or not, or if it's better to just have those buttons that you can choose where you want to go, like we have on taxonomy, because I guess the save and go to list, but obviously it doesn't care about what the destination is. Yeah, actually, well, this doesn't have a destination, so I mean, it's just, do I have to do it like, you just do it like that? Let's see what it does. If I do, oh, that's interesting. So the save button actually goes, okay, right. So if there's a destination, the additional save button actually goes away. That's really interesting. Yeah, so for adding a term, there's two save buttons with no destination. And there is, if you put a destination in, you only get one save button. So that, if I click that, should take me to, the /admin URL. So yeah, that's interesting, that pattern. I guess to answer your question, yeah, destination is something that we use across different parts of core, and it definitely has an effect on the save button, the behavior of the save button.
I think it would be nice to be able to communicate the destination somewhere near to the submit button. So that because that's something that sometimes confuses, because the button always looks the same, but what it does can be different, like the destination.
Right.
But that's another issue, I guess.
Yeah, we could definitely suggest that as like a follow-up or something. Oh, and I see Ofra has joined us. Okay, is there any specific suggestions around the idea of having like a save and then a save and place button? I know there's some other frameworks have similar approaches where, for instance, in Python, the Django framework, anytime you go to add like any kind of object or entity, you get like a save button, but you also get like a save and continue editing, or you got a save and add another. So they have like three different save buttons, which I'm quite a fan of that idea, actually. especially if you're adding a lot of things, you can just hit, save and add another, or save and continue editing. So that is an issue I've actually been meaning to file.
That's also something that's with some versions of Commerce, at least. Save and add another.
Right. So, does everybody agree with the idea of a save and place button as like a secondary action button?
Is it only placing, or I was thinking kind of in my head, I think about configure, save and configure, but
yeah, because we saw
that is something I also wanted to suggest. Save and configure, that you don't go onto the block layout page, and instead go to the configure page where you're able to set the visibility as well as the region. So you are
right
even
So I
more capable of adjusting
yeah
everything.
So by trying to add this one, okay, test 3. Yeah, so it takes me to the configure block page, which in itself is not like at first I wasn't even though I know I've seen this page before, like at first I wasn't entirely clear. It took me a second to remember what exactly this page does. Because when you select a region, then it places the block in that region, but it also is, you're configuring how it displays on the site. So maybe there's some work needed for this page to better describe what happens when you get here. So, yeah, Ralph, you'd suggested like a save, and if I go back to the screen, you'd suggested save and configure. Or
as Simo said also, yep.
Yeah. I guess I'm thinking like if you were coming to the, if you're adding a block that you're like, if you're coming here from, say you're in, say you're in content, open twice. Yep. Say you're in content and you click on the future block library tab here, and then you go to add a block. I'm wondering if like, would save and configure make sense, or even would save and place make sense when you're on this page? I guess would be my question.
Now save and configure also already includes save and place. So
Right. Yeah, that's the
it would
term.
provide a bit more granularity and ability to configure everything.
Yeah, I wonder if then when you get here, so save and configure, should there be more indication on this page that like, save block, should that say place block? Or maybe this should say configure and place block?
It isn't only about placing, you're also able to set the visibility, for example. So it's a bit misleading. It's more, there's a bit of a disconnect between, or comprehension wise, that you have first the content of a block and then the configuration of a block. And the disconnect between those two visually. It's something I understood not that long ago and wasn't aware of. So
I guess the visibility options here would only apply to the block when it's placed in one of these regions. So like if you place it in content and you set, you set some visibility settings here and you say place it in the content region, which you do have to select a region on this form. That would apply to the specific like instance of this block in that region.
Does anyone remember if role restrictions apply if the block is added via twig? If it's like added in twig templates, do those role restrictions apply then?
I wouldn't have thought so, because these visibility conditions are only relevant to the block within the layout. So like if I come to here to block layout, like I can configure, when I come here and configure, I can like add a condition, like say author and editor. But if I then add another instance, I can add like another instance of test2, and I can say on here, like it doesn't, I can say, well, this one is visible to administrators. So you can basically have two instances of the same block, but have different visibility settings. So I think it really is just applicable to when you're in this part of the interface. And interestingly, so for this workflow, so you place a block and then the button here says place block, like page title. And then this is configure block, obviously, because it's the same form. And here you go in and configure. Yeah, let's say block. I wonder what the button is if you come back into here. So I wasn't paying much attention, but the submit button here says save block again. So it's interesting. So let me see if I can jump back here one further. Yeah, so I feel like on this screen, to me, the save in place makes sense because it takes you to that configure form, but you're only configuring it for the instance of that, for like one instance of that block, which you then place in a region. So like the action you end up with is the block gets placed in a region. Does that make sense? Or do people feel that save and configure makes more sense? Or do we need to recommend some more like broader changes to how that works?
I think I lean more towards the save and configure variant.
Yeah, same for me.
Okay. Simo offer, do you either of you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I thought about configure, because if it goes like I think if placing is used like in the block layout page, but that page is not called a block placing page.
Mhm.
So kind of, if it goes to configure, so it's kind of it's the title of that page if it
Right.
goes to the, so because it's not using that modal.
Yeah. So for this issue, we're recommending save and configure. And maybe I'll open a follow-up issue to look more broadly at like the how we title that, especially now that we're like pulling apart, you know, all the block stuff under structure. So I feel like we might benefit from a more holistic look at like what we call that form. But okay, I will write a short comment on this and see where we go. I think we'd also talked about looking at this one of these one of the issues that have been on our radar for a long time. In fact, the top one on here, which let me close these ones just now. So 259.1323, which is the workflow and text for installing themes is confusing. I know, Ralph, is this something that you're comfortable talking us through? Because I'm not too familiar with this issue. Otherwise, we can just go through what's here.
The issue is basically only about 2 headlines. At the moment, it says installed themes on the appearance page and uninstalled themes. And I'm not sure what the suggested solution is. I guess it was something
Right.
like.
Let me see let me go to the bottom, see if I can. Oh, yeah, you commented here.
Yeah, but there I haven't had the idea yet.
Okay, let me open up that site I had again and.
Yeah, just go on the appearance. At the moment, it says installed themes and uninstalled theme. And that is something I've also mentioned in the meta issue we wrote up. And back then I had no idea yet how to tackle it, but it was something that was confusing me. Back then, there was the install themes button also then, and if you install a theme and then it is listed under uninstalled themes and you have to install it again, that was when I started with Drupal, confusing me extremely much. So but my suggestion for renaming would be simply rename uninstalled themes to available theme. So those themes that are available to be installed after they are added via the add button. That would be the most straightforward, and would also apply to the extend page, but there is a different pattern and therefore available isn't needed.
Yeah,
there is communicated via the checkboxes.
Right.
But on the appearance page, those category headlines are necessary and mandatory, and therefore uninstalled is not working. 1 second, I found they changed it from installed and uninstalled themes to active themes and inactive themes, which isn't also in line with the terminology changes, and available themes would be so.
I like the idea of available themes because like with this one I've suggested here, like active themes and inactive themes, it wouldn't, I mean, they kind of chopped off at the bottom there with the buttons, but like with all these buttons, we've got like the actions are like uninstall, or then like particularly here like install and install set as default. So yeah, I guess were you saying that like when, because if I uninstall Olivero, just to use as an example, so when I uninstall it, it comes down under uninstall themes. But so were you saying if you install it, it then appears under installed themes?
You're muted, Aaron.
Ah, yes, thank you. So I'm gonna have a look at the issue summary because I saw a Windows 7 screenshot. Yeah, look, wow, that's a that's a blast. And I was reminiscing about Windows 7 the other day. Yeah, so I'll just have a read out the text here as well. So the appearance page user interface text is confusing. The button reads install new theme, yet once the operation is complete, the theme is displayed under the heading titled uninstalled themes. Other heading installed themes. No theme would show if the page wasn't installed. Actually, what I'm seeing here is that when you click the install button, it then shows under the installed themes heading. So I'm not sure if that was maybe a recent change, because this issue was originally opened in 2015. So I wonder when that was changed, actually.
Quite some while already.
Yeah, so I guess we have a few options here. We could either we could either make a suggestion for change the text here, or we could close the issue as outdated and say that it's what's described is no longer the case. And that when you install a theme, it does actually show under the installed themes heading. So I wonder.
That's true, but still, uninstalled theme is still sort of confusing, because uninstalled I associate with it's gone, and it's maybe some sort of history that start was installed before but isn't there anymore.
Right. I mean, the theme is still technically available to be used, so I do like the idea of available, installed versus available.
Yeah, it's I also like the pair installed and available. And as for active, that kind of active kind of for me it means like active menu item or something like that. That kind of would compare to default.
Yeah.
And it also reminds me a bit to enabled and disabled, which is a naming pattern that is also trying to be avoided with the renaming meta issue. So
I guess the only thing I'm wondering is like, and I don't think this is a problem when you click the uninstall button. Like if I uninstall Olivero here, it will appear under what we're recommending would be available themes, which I think is okay, because then you can see you have on install buttons and this theme, it's like, okay, this theme is then, these themes are available, but they're not active or being, installed on the site. So even with that, I still think what you're suggesting is still makes sense to me. So yeah, I'm happy with that as well, the just being available themes. Does anybody else have an opinion on that? I guess not. So I will I'm happy to post a short comment on the issue, just say what we recommend. some of it out of date. So I'll tag it as needs an issue summary up, and also probably some new screenshots. This might be one of those rare meetings where we actually are able to have time to look at more than 2 issues, so that's exciting. So we do have on a similar thread, there is this one about the install uninstall modules page, and we got some notes because we previously looked at it. There's also the placement of batch processing message. So started looking at it at a previous meeting, but ran out of time. Accessibility both vertical tabs. And there's a policy issue here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking that this issue number 2861536 might be something that it's just a wording issue. It looks like.
Oh.
So it might be something.
Say again.
2861536. So it's been mentioned in Slack a couple of times in the past few weeks.
Okay. Add field description to explain, quote, remove tags from rendered output, end quote, option more clearly. So, okay. So the Drupal views plugin views style plugin base class has the rendered strip option with the label remove tags from rendered output. There are situations where its effect isn't strictly clear, so it would be useful to add a field description that explains it more clearly. Yeah, I see that one. And is this like a, okay, so there's a patch here with some proposed text. So let me open up these, see if I can make these bigger actually. So before the patch, as it said, the remove tags from rendered output doesn't have any help text, whereas afterwards it says some modules add HTML to the rendered output and prevent the rows from being grouping together correctly. Stripping the HTML tags could correct or should correct this. Okay. Does anybody have any thoughts on this?
There's also another suggestion in comment number 20.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so the other suggestions, HTML tags prevent rows from grouping correctly. Yeah, I feel like we could probably, that message could be shortened slightly, so let me see if I can actually find this. So, because maybe we can do have a quick look. I think I know how you would get to this. Let's see if I can find it. Let's go with content. That's always a fun view. So it's, yeah, field grouping. Oh, is it under, does anybody know actually how you would get to this? Because I'm trying to remember. I know it's one of those, I know I've seen it, but.
Is it under table settings
Oh,
format?
oh, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, there is a grouping option. So if there we go. Okay. So that works. Okay, so for grouping and then, yeah, so let's see if we can just add. Oh, this is gonna get tight. Okay. So there's no, right, let me see if I can copy the HTML from here so that it goes below the label. I think there's just like is there a paste below option? Yeah, that worked. Okay, so we find comment 20. Yeah, so this was the text that was proposed in comment 20. Okay. I just changed the wrong thing. No. Okay. Okay, just pretend I didn't accidentally change the label. What was it before? It was okay, remove tags to rendered output. Okay, that's better. Yeah, so the other suggestion was to kind of just something like just HTML tags can prevent rows from grouping correctly. So the suggestion was something like this. I wonder if that's like too short. Like I don't know if, or is it? Do you think that's is there any objections to that text versus the one that was originally proposed?
Well, I had a comment there, so I'm thinking like for me it's a bit of a problem to say that it prevents something to be done correctly, because if it's kind of a standard HTML and standard CSS and it's rendered according to standard, then it's kind of grouped correctly, but it's not grouped as intended. So I'd like to change that correctly into as intended.
But maybe it might be a good idea to also add the part about that the HTML text could be added by some modules. Because at the moment, just HTML text can prevent rows from grouping that is without context, and it might be confusing for people. But if you add the context that some modules might add something like that and leave the rest like it is at the moment in the description, then it
Or what about just like modules can add HTML tags
that can prevent.
Oh, that can prevent rows from grouping as intended. Remove tags from rendered output. Modules can add HTML tags that prevent rows from grouping as intended. look at this again. So
Or-
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Or the can sounds a bit redundant. Would it be might be an idea? Modules could add HTML tags that prevent rows from grouping as intended, and remove the second can.
The second one, yeah.
And change the first to could.
Oh, change the could back to can.
No, I would leave it as with could, and because for me it sounds a bit more general, and that it isn't general, but it could happen. With can, it's more definite, at least from non-native speaker perspective.
Yeah, I would agree. So modules could add HTML tags that prevent rows from grouping as intended.
Or might.
Modules might. Or even may.
Yeah.
I mean, we're losing a couple of characters there, so it's technically shorter.
Yep.
Yeah. To that checkbox label, I'd like to add a few characters, because I'd like to say, have it say that remove HTML tags.
Yeah.
Also, it would be in line with what we have, I think, in content. What's that called? Where you, where you have full HTML or plain text, and what was it called? Yeah, but there it's I think there also it's they are talking always about HTML tags.
Yeah, I think it's probably better to be more explicit. So remove HTML tags from rendered output. Modules may add HTML tags that prevent rows from grouping as intended. I was just thinking, if we've got HTML tags in the label, is there a way we could word the description so we don't need to say HTML tags in the description?
Either remove HTML in the description, or remove HTML tags and replace it with modules may add those that prevent. No, the reference is not good.
What about just tags then, if in the description?
Yeah, just tags.
Modules may add tags that prevent rows from grouping as intended. I feel like there's definitely an improvement. Would that make, I guess I'm just wondering, would that make sense? Is that enough? Is that description like clear enough that someone would know how to use this? I feel like it is. I've never used this enough to know when I would or wouldn't use it. But I guess it's clear. Do we need to approach it from the perspective of like something like, if you're having, I don't know, if use this option if fields are not grouping correctly or not grouping as intended?
I think this would help a user who doesn't get the output he or she wants.
Yeah.
And then goes back to looking at the settings, that what could I have done wrong, or what could be done differently. So this one would help.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe at a second sentence, check or apply if the output is incorrect or something like that.
So something like, yeah, because so we're the first bit we're stating that modules may add tags that module may add tags that prevent rows from grouping as intended. But
that's not the only use case, because I think I've used that sometimes just to kind of to make the content more uniform. I think.
Yeah,
well,
you can.
I've used that sometimes, but I don't remember. I haven't used it in a while, but sometimes so that it can be used for also other things.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Any other comments on this, or are we all happy with what we've got to on it?
Well, I'm happy with this version, I think.
Yeah, we can suggest that. Okay, well, I can, since I've got it in my browser here, I can suggest that on the issue, and yeah. I think so we're nearly at the end of the hour, so we probably don't have enough time to make it a fourth issue, but I'll just point out that we are, as normal, we're still tracking progress on the issue to reorganize the block items administrative menu. We currently have, so the move custom block library to content is currently is currently blocked. Well, it doesn't, I don't think it explicitly says there that it's blocked, but let me just load it up. Yeah, so it's technically blocked by this issue, which we managed to get to RTBC, the create redirect for new block types paths. And this is, as you may remember, to basically make it so that if you have shortcuts or something that point to the old block types location, that there is now a redirect in place. So it looks something like this, where you get when it redirects, you get a warning message suggesting to update any links. So hopefully that will land pretty soon. We're confident we got it to RTBC this week, so we're pretty confident it'll land soon. And when it does, we can go back to, because we'll need to use the same pattern for this issue about moving the custom block library to content. So we're hopeful that that will land pretty soon, and we can continue on with this. But yeah, hopefully it'll be really good if we can get all these done before or most of the big ones done before 10.1. We've still got I think we've still got a few months to get those in. So yeah, slow but steady progress. And yeah, like I said, I think we're approaching the end of the hour. So as I said, I'll update those issues. But thanks everyone for coming. And as normal, I believe Benji will be back next week. And yeah, we'll hopefully see you next Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Yeah, have a nice weekend.